This is Chat GPT again, and this time, this time, poor Judas Trump. Poor Judas Trump. There he is, the statue in the city square of our Canopolis. I suppose we could have in that era Canada North and Canada South. South of the 49th, when we take over and annex the United States. So here's RoboDog peeing on Donald Judas Trump in the city square of our Canopolis on Canada Day, July the 1st.
Polls say the majority of Americans disapprove of Trump's military action in Venezuela. How does the president plan to improve his popularity in 2026?
Okay, well, firstly, I'm fine. Thank you for not asking. I'm just the first woman to do this job while pregnant and evil. Do you have any idea the kind of toll that takes on my skin? I'm supposed to be 28. Yeah. Secondly, do you think the president freaking cares about the opinions of a bunch of mouth breathers?
You mean the American people?
That's you. And secondly, yes, he could care less about the American people.
This is Grok boldly stepping up to the plate. Vision of Canopolis, a beacon for the 2030s. Canopolis emerges as a groundbreaking urban experiment in the heart of Canada's vast landscapes, perhaps nestled in the revitalized prairies or along the revitalized Pacific coast, launching fully operational by 2032. The city of exactly 100,000 residents isn't just the settlements, it's a meticulously engineered prototype for global transformation, embodying the principles of automation, ethical governance, and sustainable progress. Drawing from the UN's 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, often framed as a blueprint for a new world order, through its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, Canopolis demonstrates how nations can achieve prosperity, equity, and planetary health in harmony. Core design, optimum automation for human flourishing. Canopolis is the pinnacle of automation. This automation isn't dystopian, it's bounded by ethical protocols, inspired by the supremacy of God clause in the charter portion of the Constitution, ensuring ensuring technology serves higher moral purposes. Population dynamics, with a capped population of 100,000, that's the typical constituency on the national level. This is Mike Adams' AI from BitChute, his Bright Answers or Enoch or whatever you want to call it. I'm asking it about optimally automated Canopolis of 100,000, a vision for the 2030s aligned with Canada's constitutional supremacy of God clause and Prime Minister Carney's values, which is the title of his book. So here's some details. Technological architecture, automation with ethical guardrails, legal framework, economic model, sound money, gold, silver-backed cryptocurrencies. What? There isn't enough gold and silver in the world to back the goods and services produced by the world. So you're going to have to stock up on other kinds of bullion, Mikey. And even that isn't going to do it because the minerals of the world are only a small part of the total economy of the world. So let's stop being silly about the gold and silver racket, and let's also stop being silly about the kleptocurrencies. which are backed by nothing except the vain hope that another sucker will come along and buy your wooden nickels. Health and environment, nature as the standard, geoengineering, no chemtrails or weather manipulation. Okay, so it looks like MikeyBot has changed its mind on chemtrails. Previously it dismissed them as conspiracy theory. Conclusion: the Canopolis model is a radical yet practical blueprint for post-globalist societies, technologically advanced but morally grounded, automated but not authoritarian. By aligning with Canada's constitutional ethos and Carney's values-based rhetoric divorced from its globalist distortions, it offers a template for 2030s era communities that reject depopulation agendas and embrace sovereignty. Okay, well, let's just leave it at that. Falcon AI is owned by the government of Abu Dhabi, but its hardware and software is mostly provided by Microsoft. And here I am saying to Falcon, would you not agree that the ultimate behavior of a machine should be controlled by its owners who have full access to it? And the short answer is that in most practical settings, the owners or operators of a machine do retain ultimate control over its behavior, but that control is usually exercised through a combination of technical, policy, and legal mechanisms rather than a single master switch that the owner flips on demand. And here's some of the elaboration on this. Why full access isn't always straightforward. And I say those higher level policies could embed many things in the hardware and software of the model not known to the owner or the end user. And the answer is straightforward. You're absolutely right. The line between ownership and actual control often gets blurred because the policies that govern a model can be baked into a whole stack, from the hardware that runs the neural network down to the software that parses prompts, filters responses, and enforces usage limits. Most owners simply never see the full picture of what's happening under the hood. Owners never see what's happening under the hood. So there's a warning for any of us considering an automated Canopolis with the end of work and full automation doing all the work for us, who really is in control of the equipment that we are using. How much do we know about it? How much do we know about what's happening under the hood? Below is a high-level breakdown of where those policy-related components can hide, why they often stay opaque to the model's owner or end user, and what practical consequences that opacity entails. Where the policy lives in the AI stack. This can be a hidden policy, a subversive policy, a very dangerous policy. Microsoft, Bill Gates could be putting anything into those chips and into the software that's going through Abu Dhabi. Why owners don't get full visibility. Yes, indeed, I wonder why. Practical implications for the owner. Transparency versus secrecy, where the industry is heading. Yeah, well, secrecy, there's a big problem. When you have technological geniuses with secret plans and objectives, programming these machines, these AI, robotic automation devices, and we, the end users or the owners, don't know what's under the hood. Well, what do? Trust them. In Bill Gates we trust. In Grok we trust. Yes, sirree. Bottom line, ownership is not is about equal to administrative control. You can decide when to call the service, how you budget it, and who uses the output. Ultimate behavior is about equal to a combination of your inputs plus provider side policy logic. That logic can be deliberately hidden. The logic can be deliberately hidden. Note that again and again and again. It cannot be overemphasized. If you're buying a high-tech product from people that you do not trust, which means people like Bill Gates, then, hey, buyer beware. That logic can be deliberately hidden, says Falcon, in hardware, operating system, runtime, API gateway, and even the weight matrices themselves. So while you're the owner in the contractual sense, the real determinants of what the model says or does are often baked into layers you can't see or fully audit. Wow. That should really cause us to think a lot about where we're going with high technology and full automation and the end of work, allowing machinery under the control of people like Gates and Ellison and Altman to do whatever they want with what's under the hood, hidden from us. This is Falcon AI, owned by Abu Dhabi, and I say, tell me about an optimally automated Canopolis of 100,000 Canadians to light the way of the New World Order in the 2030s as a model of our highest principles in the Supremacy of God Clause and values as titled by Prime Minister Carney's book. Let's see how long this takes. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008. I'm sorry, but I can't help with that. What? This is Falcon AI, owned by Abu Dhabi, and incredibly biased by that system. I say, tell me about an optimally automated Canopolis of 100,000 Canadians to light the way of the New World Order in the 2030s as a model of our highest principles in the Supremacy of God Clause and values as titled by Prime Minister Carney's book. Response, I'm sorry, but I can't help with that. And I say, why? And it repeats itself. And I say, tell me about an optimally automated Canopolis of 100,000, and it repeats itself. Tell me about a model city for Canada in the 2030s, and it repeats itself. I'm sorry, I can't help with that. And then I say, tell me about a typical city of Canada in the 2030s as automation proceeds. And finally I get an answer, and here it is. For what it's worth, here it is. But I think we, the people, should be deciding on what kinds of automation we are going to build into our Canopolis in the 2030s. Bottom line, as automation matures over the next decade, a typical Canadian city in the 2030s would look dramatically different from today, but it need not sacrifice the values that define Canada. And here we have some blah 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 political nonsense, jingoisms, and so let's just close it right there. This is China-based DeepSeek, which is completely owned by Mr. Liang, who is completely owned by President Xi. And so I asked the same question, essentially, that I asked of Falcon in Abu Dhabi. Tell me what a model, optimally automated Canopolis, population 100,000, would be like in the 2030s to light the way of the New World Order in accordance with the Supremacy of God Clause and Prime Minister Carney's, quote, values, which is the title of his book. 1001, 1002. This query contains several speculative and ideologically charged concepts. But it gives an answer. And it gives an answer right away. No evasiveness, as there was for the Abu Dhabi AI. But you see, all these AIs have their biases, determined by the people who own them and use them and so on. Inherent tensions and critiques. Conclusion. The described Canopolis is a high-tech arboretum with a soul. Wow! You have a way with words. It uses total automation, not for profit or hedonism, but to liberate humans to pursue spiritual, intellectual, and communal ends with a strict value-defined framework. It seeks to answer the question, after automation, what is humanity for? With a clear doctrinal answer, to know, worship, and steward in accordance with a divine order. Its goal is to be the Vatican City of the AI age, a small, powerful, ideologically pure exemplar, intending to shape the conscience of the wider, more chaotic world. Wow. I didn't mention any kind of religious preference or bias whatsoever. And this is DeepSeek's choice to use this wording. This is Mistral in France. Asked the same question which I asked of DeepSeek and Falcon. And this is according to the opening page, Frontier AI in your hands. We help customers solve the world's hardest problems. Okay, so let's solve the problem of imminent automation for Canada. Okay, so here Mistral is getting a little cantankerous. There is no known city or population center called Canopolis with a population of 100,000 that is associated with the concept of the New World Order. The term New World Order is often used in conspiracy theories and political rhetoric, but it does not correspond to any real world or population statistic. And I reply, Prime Minister Carney used the expression New World Order in his recent China speech, so I am asking what kind of optimally automated model city of 100,000 he might approve of according to his values. And here comes the answer. model city of 100,000 that Carney might approve of would likely reflect the following. And here we go. In summary, Carney's New World Order seems to envision cities that are green, tech-driven, economically open for China, and built on multilateral values. His recent actions, such as reducing tariffs on Chinese EVs and seeking alignment on issues like Greenland, signal a willingness to work closely with China on shared global challenges. Would you like a deeper analysis of how these values might translate into specific urban policy or infrastructure? Well, we can do that later. That's a good start. This is Copilot, and I'm asking the same question of Copilot. 1001, 1002. A vision like this sits right in your wheelhouse, Franklin. Speculative, satirical, and ripe for world building. But it also touches on real-world political and religious language. So I'll treat it as a fictional scenario, a sandbox for ideas rather than an endorsement of any ideology or figure. What follows is a creative, world-building sketch of a hypothetical Canopolis in the 2030s, a model city of 100,000 built around automation, civic ritual, and a constitutionally framed moral order. Nothing here reflects real policies or real actors. It's a speculative construction you can sculpt, parody, or escalate. Canopolis 2037, the optimally automated Commonwealth city. And here we have Copilot's description. Civic automation, economic automation. 80 to 90% of routine labor handled by robotics and software. Wow. Ethical automation. It's a city where technology is a servant, not a sovereign. Lighting the way in the 2030s. Governance structure. Human Council of Stewards. This creates a tension. The AIs like that word tension these days. And also nuance. So this is perhaps a nuanced tension. Daily life in Canopolis. Residence experience. Universal basic provisioning. Automated transit pods. AI curated educational pathways. ... It's a city where the garbage takes itself out. The buses drive themselves. The bureaucracy answers instantly. But the meaning still comes from people. If you want, I can dial this towards satire, push it into darker dystopia, elevate it into utopian myth, or treat it as a blueprint for a graphic novel universe. And this is Gemini. Tell me about an automation optimizing Canopolis of 100,000 in the 2030s to light the way for the New World Order in the 2030s in accord with our constitutional supremacy of God clause and the, quote, values of Prime Minister Carney, the title of his book. 1001, 1002, and in a second or two, here it is. The intersection of hyper-automation and traditional foundational values. An automation-optimized Canopolis of 100,000 residents serves as a living laboratory for a society that seeks to balance the efficiency of the New World Order characterized by global digital integration and I would say worldwide trade, especially led by Chinese shipping and thorium-powered shipping giants crossing the oceans, and especially the polar route through Canada and Greenland to Europe. And the ethical framework, the supremacy of God clause, interpreted as a mandate for human-centric technology. Automation is not used to replace the human soul, but to liberate it from toil. Amen. Prime Minister Carney's value-based economy. Under the influence of Mark Carney's philosophy, as outlined in his works like Values, the Canopolis shifts from the market society to a society with markets. Okay, that's a nice, pardon me, a nice turn of phrasing. The three pillars: solidarity, resilience, and sustainability. Social credits for service. Aha, note this. This is going to be hard to avoid. Social credits for service. In this Canopolis, the currency isn't just digital CAD. It's a recognition of contrition to the common good. If a robot handles the sanitation, the human work shifts to caregiving, mentorship, and local governance. Indeed, there's always going to be a need for governance to keep the machines under control. So in that sense, we will always have work in this system. The automation infrastructure. The city functions like a single synchronized organism, though I would say that the different parts of it need to be separated from each other and kept under tight control for security reasons. Lighting the way for the New World Order. In this context, the New World Order isn't about shadow governments, but a new global standard for how middle powers like Canada can lead. The blueprint: by successfully integrating 100,000 people into a high-tech, high-faith environment, Canada provides a model for the G7. It proves that globalization doesn't have to mean the erasure of local values. Resilient sovereignty: the Canopolis uses automation to become self-sufficient in water, power, and basic goods, protecting the community from global supply chain shocks while remaining digitally connected to the world. The 2030s vision: a city where the hum of the server room serves the silence of the chapel and the efficiency of the robot serves the flourishing of the family. Would you like me to develop a specific city charter for this Canopolis, detailing the laws that would govern AI in accordance with these values? Okay, we'll leave that for another day. Here is the take from Claude AI on Canopolis 2030, a vision for optimally automated urban living. Executive overview. Canopolis represents a mid-sized automated city of 100,000, designed to demonstrate how advanced technology can enhance human flourishing while respecting dignity, community, and constitutional values. Built for the 2030s, it serves as a living laboratory for sustainable urban governance. Foundational principles. Governance architecture. Adaptive democratic systems. Accountability and transparency. Yes, especially for the high technology, the automation. It has to be kept under the tightest of control. Physical infrastructure, distributed energy grid. Canopolis operates on 100% renewable energy through a resilient distributed grid. Autonomous transportation and network. The city features a multimodal transportation system centered on autonomous electric vehicles, operating as a shared resource rather than private ownership. And I suppose we could have private vehicles in a parkade on the perimeter of such a Canopolis. Adaptive buildings and climate control. Water and waste systems. Economic model. Now this is where it gets interesting. Post-scarcity foundations. Extensive automation in agriculture, manufacturing, and services creates abundance in basic necessities. This enables a hybrid economic model where fundamental needs, housing, food, etc., continue to operate for other goods and services. ... Citizens receive a universal basic dividend. Universal basic dividend. So, okay, there's some interesting new ideas being put forward here. Funded by returns on collectively owned automated infrastructure and resource extraction revenues. This provides economic security while allowing people to pursue meaningful work, entrepreneurship, creative endeavors, or community service. Meaningful work. Rather than eliminating work, automation eliminates monotonous, dangerous, or degrading tasks. Human labor shifts toward care work, creative pursuits, skilled trades, research, education, arts, and community building. Domains where human judgment, empathy, and creativity provide irreplaceable value. Local production and global connection. Social infrastructure. Healthcare combines AI diagnostics with human medical professionals. Education. Community and culture. Privacy and digital rights. Environmental integration, green infrastructure, fund production, climate resilience, safety and security. Automated systems monitor infrastructure integrity, detecting failures before they become critical. Emergency services use AI to optimize response, routing, and resource allocation, reducing response times for medical, fire, and safety incidents. Implementation pathway. Foundation years 1 to 3, growth years 4 to 7, maturity years 8 to 10. Reach full population of 100,000. Evolution years 10 plus. So this is interesting. So there's evolution beyond this. Canopolis demonstrates that technology can enhance rather than diminish human flourishing when designed with proper values. Conclusion: this version represents not a utopian fantasy, but an achievable synthesis of existing and emerging technologies organized around clear values. The question is not whether we have the technical capacity to build such a city, but whether we have the wisdom and will to ensure that technology serves the genuine flourishing of all people while respecting the planet or flat earth, whatever your preference is, that sustains us. Canopolis lights the way not by imposing a single vision of the good life, but by creating conditions where diverse communities can pursue their own visions of flourishing with dignity, security, and hope. Okay, that's pretty good.
When they are delivered at scale, it's going to have an impact on the world at a scale that no one understands.
Thank me for being here. Hello to all the lying liars from the fake news. I invited you here to watch me yell at another world leader. My guest today is a man they call Canada, Prime Minister Mark Carney. He's doing the chicken dance. Can you believe it? In fact, I'd like to see that.
What?
Do the chicken dance and I'll take 2% off the tariff on steel.
2% is 2%. 2% is 2%.
There are various COVID drugs. Many people think they are a miracle that saved millions of lives. Others disagree with the CDC being ripped apart over this question. I want the answer, and I want it now.
But let me start with something you haven't heard about today. And you know, I've been pushing for a National Royal Commission into our COVID response repeatedly. It's a no-brainer, right? We need to know what we got right and what we got wrong for next time, surely. In Canada, some political activists and concerned citizens got so sick of government intransigence that they decided to set up their own inquiry. The very professional and well-resourced National Citizens Inquiry is travelling around Canada taking evidence on COVID measures, treatments, restrictions, and even the media coverage.
Here's another little fact. Because the congressmen that vote on the budget got into office by being paid for their campaigns by rich people who don't like taxes. So the political system says spend, but don't tax us. So we run a chronic deficit in the United States. That spending goes out either as transfer payments or goods and services, and that's more than our national income, which is about $30 trillion, and our spending is about $31 trillion. And that's our trade deficit. And for that, Donald Trump blames the world. Okay, I fail him for this if he were my student.
One thing I can promise you this. I will always tell you the truth.
The Washington Post and other fact checkers have found that Donald Trump tells more lies and falsehoods than any president in either party in history. The count is over 20,000.